Some of the things I discuss in this audio may be uncomfortable. Usually that is because it is something you don't want to hear or are resisting. People with anxiety problems often don't want to hear about learning to tolerate anxiety. Much of the time when I see new clients who have an anxiety disorder, and I ask, "What are your goals for therapy?" the first response is an emphatic, "I want to get rid of this anxiety. I can't stand it." My response is, "We can't do that." They usually stare at me in shock, probably thinking, "And this person is the expert with anxiety?" I explain to them that we can't get rid of anxiety, because anxiety is a normal and important part of our internal defense system. It protects us from danger. We need anxiety and all our emotions to help us navigate the world. The unpleasant anxiety symptoms that you experience are due to the activation of the autonomic nervous system, which is the part of our brain that releases adrenaline when we are threatened in some way. Adrenaline causes our body to be ready for action in case we need to quickly react to the threat. Adrenaline in appropriate amounts is very useful to athletes and others who need to react quickly. As a result of the release of adrenaline, we experience increased heart rate and breathing, as well as muscular tension, so that our body is prepared to respond. When no apparent threat is present, these changes are often experienced as agitation or anxiety. But they are still normal responses, even though the immediate trigger for them may be unknown. In addition, we may experience other sensations because our brain focuses on the preparation to respond to threat by shutting down unnecessary functions of the body. For instance, the body doesn't need to be focused on digestion when there is an immediate situation to deal with. As a result, many people experience stomach upset when stressed or anxious. Many things can cause the activation of the autonomic nervous system. Both physical and emotional threats can cause the release of adrenaline. Both real and imagined events can be perceived as threatening. Even the anxiety symptoms themselves can come to be perceived as a threat. Our brains naturally try to make sense of our environments. However, if we don't take charge of this process, and instead we let the brain come to its own conclusions, we can develop irrational fears. Think of it this way. If a baby is startled, let's say by a loud sound while playing with a favorite toy, the natural reaction is to cry. However, the cry itself can become distressing to the baby, which reinforces the fear. Not understanding that the fear is just a reaction to the loud sound, the baby comes to associate the fear with the toy and becomes afraid of the toy. The same is often true of anxiety. If you are unaware of the source of the anxiety, then you are more likely to associate the anxiety with events or objects that are unrelated. For instance, many people with panic disorder are fearful of driving, believing that driving is the cause of the panic. Or people with obsessive-compulsive disorder may associate certain beliefs and compulsions with the reduction of anxiety, such as checking the stove doors and windows, makes them feel better, even though in reality the checking may not make them any safer. Our emotions reflect the world around us. Emotions are meant to give you information. Unfortunately, many people with anxiety disorders want to ignore the emotions because they are unpleasant or even painful. However, successful people listen to their emotions and tolerate the discomfort because they know that the message of the emotions is more important than the temporary discomfort. You may find yourself disagreeing with my statement about ignoring the underlying emotions. You may think, I can't ignore the anxiety, it won't let me. But most likely, you are trying to ignore emotions or other situations that could be triggering or contributing to the anxiety. However, the more you understand your anxiety, the more you can learn to manage it. If you understand the true triggers of the anxiety, not what you have associated with the anxiety, you can then take steps to manage those triggers. However, even when the triggers are not under your control, by learning to tolerate the anxiety symptoms themselves, you can gain greater ability to manage your anxiety. I know it seems contrary to your goal, but the demand to get rid of the anxiety only intensifies it. Whereas the more you accept and tolerate the anxiety, the more it is likely to decrease. Tolerating anxiety is similar to tolerating chronic pain. The more you demand to get rid of chronic pain, the more it will frustrate you, irritate you, and intensify. However, when you are able to accept the pain as an irritant, but not as something you must get rid of, its hold over you tends to reduce, and even the intensity of the pain itself may reduce or become less noticeable. The same is true with anxiety. Demanding to be rid of the anxiety only makes it less tolerable. It becomes a larger presence in your life, and your entire focus is on the anxiety. The more you focus on it, the more power you give it in your life. However, a mindful approach to anxiety is learning to let it be. You don't have to get rid of it. When the anxiety demands your attention, you can very gently refocus yourself to your present activity. And if the focus on the anxiety is your present activity, then learn to develop an awareness of other aspects to your life. You can focus on how unpleasant the anxiety is, or you can choose to focus on some other, more pleasant, or even neutral event in your life. I understand that right now that may not seem possible. You may not believe that it is a choice you can make. However, by taking small steps towards the goal of developing a more mindful approach to life, you will eventually have more choice in how you focus your attention. The anxiety is like a screaming child throwing a temper tantrum to demand your attention. The more you believe that you have to give in to that demand so as to quiet it, the more likely it will escalate its demands over time. Instead, you can learn to focus your attention elsewhere and let the anxiety be. It is present, it is a part of you, but you don't have to provide it with your full attention. The anxiety feeds off negative attention. The more attention you give it, the more it demands. But if you say, so what if I feel anxious? If you believe, I can tolerate this anxiety, it may be unpleasant, but it won't kill me, the anxiety begins to lose its power over you. Its only power is the demand that you must get rid of the anxiety. You might prefer to get rid of the anxiety, but the more you realize you don't have to, the less the anxiety controls your life. The demand that we shouldn't have a problem often causes more problems than the problem itself. The demand that you should get rid of your anxiety can cause you more distress than the anxiety itself. When we can accept a problem and take a matter-of-fact approach to managing the problem, we have greater likelihood of attaining success. Instead of demanding to get rid of anxiety, be determined to tolerate the anxiety. The anxiety is not your fault. It is a condition that you have. You can't wish it away. However, you can tolerate it. You know you can because you have already lived with the anxiety. You are a survivor. It hasn't defeated you. So you know that you can already tolerate it. By removing the demand to get rid of the anxiety, you are able to remove a portion of the anxiety. You are removing the anxiety about having the anxiety. The more you develop a so what attitude towards the anxiety, the more you remove the stress about having anxiety. You can learn to believe, so what if I have anxiety? It can't destroy my life unless I let it. It is just a feeling, a sensation I experience. No different than if I had to live with pain or an injury. It is a pain. It is unpleasant, but I can tolerate it. The interesting thing that occurs with this so what attitude is that the anxiety does often decrease. But it only does if you truly believe, so what? When you truly believe that you can tolerate the anxiety often decreases. This is because it is the demand to get rid of the anxiety and the fear of what if the anxiety doesn't go away that makes it stronger. However, you may not be able to get rid of all anxiety because, as I said before, anxiety has a purpose. Also, there may be a certain level of anxiety that occurs because of your anxiety disorder or the stress in your life. However, you may be able to rid yourself of a significant portion of it by learning to tolerate it, by learning that you don't have to get rid of it. Have you ever had the experience of something external annoying you? Maybe a sound such as workmen building a house or a dog barking. And the more you focused on how annoying it was, the more irritated and distressed you became by the sound. And then you decided to just focus on your immediate activity, your work, or reading, or whatever you were doing. And after a while, you realized that the sound didn't seem as noticeable or as obnoxious. This is because our focus on something can increase the intensity of our perception. This can be a good thing as well. For instance, when you focus on flowers or a painting, the colors may appear more vibrant or the design more detailed. Attention allows us to fully appreciate our experiences. However, there may be experiences that you don't want to fully appreciate. But giving your focus to those experiences only intensifies them in the same way. So the more you focus on anxiety, just like pain, it will tend to increase. This doesn't mean you should ignore anxiety completely, because if the anxiety is trying to provide you with a message and you ignore it, then other problems may be created. In addition, the anxiety may intensify because you are not heeding the message. What I mean, however, is to think of anxiety as a messenger, not as a tormentor. It exists to help you, not harm you. It is like a good friend who would rather tell you something that may be painful in order to help you than to let you suffer by not knowing. I know it is quite a stretch to think of anxiety as a good friend, especially when it causes so much distress in your life. However, just like a good friend, it is more likely to quiet when it knows it has been heard. The more you are able to tolerate the anxiety, the more you will be able to listen to it. And as you listen to it, you may find, surprisingly, how helpful it can be. Anxiety is an early warning system. It is a protector. However, the message may not always be one you want to hear. Learning to tolerate anxiety may not be easy, but it can certainly be worthwhile. Therefore, change your focus. Instead of focusing on ridding yourself of anxiety, focus on listening to it. Focus on your ability to tolerate it. Focus on just letting it be. You can switch your focus to other aspects of your present experience. Developing a mindful attitude teaches you how to do that. You don't have to allow anxiety to consume your focus. There are many other aspects of your life and the world around you that you can focus on. A mindful attitude means focusing on your present experience. When you focus on the demand of getting rid of anxiety or worrying about the anxiety, you are not in the present, but in the future. When you focus on how awful you felt yesterday with the anxiety, you're not in the present, but in the past. When you are in the present, you can choose your focus. Certainly, anxiety may be a part of your focus, but it doesn't require all your attention. Practicing mindful awareness is an awareness of your full experience. Even though anxiety may be a part of your experience, it is not your full experience. In every moment, there are other aspects to your experience. You can choose to bring your awareness to those other aspects. Simple things, some pleasant, some neutral, some unpleasant. But all are tolerable. Choose your focus. This audio is not meant to be a sleep induction. It is meant to help you understand and change certain styles of thinking that can cause or contribute to sleep problems. The most common type of sleep problem is insomnia. And the most common cause of insomnia is not being able to quiet the mind. The reasons for this can vary, and it is important to recognize what may be contributing to your sleep problems. This audio is to help you understand some of the causes for insomnia, which is difficulty falling asleep either initially or if you wake in the middle of the night. First, it is important to understand the mechanism of sleep. It is easier to sleep, and you will obtain a more refreshing sleep the more physically and mentally relaxed you are. However, too often, people engage in thinking or activities at bedtime that are stimulating rather than relaxing, and these interfere with sleep. Obviously, the activities that interfere will vary for each person, so it is important to understand what your obstacles to sleeping well are. Sometimes people think something is relaxing when it is actually stimulating. For instance, many people think watching TV is relaxing. However, TV is stimulating to the brain. Even if what you are watching is quiet or boring, the brain is still being stimulated by the lights and the sound. Some people say they can fall asleep better with the TV on. However, they are less likely to get good rest and are more likely to toss and turn or have disturbing dreams. Also, some people believe that having an alcoholic beverage at bedtime can relax them and help them sleep. However, this may be similar to TV in that it helps them fall asleep, but sleep itself is not very restful, and they are more likely to wake early and not be able to return to sleep. Some medications can do the same thing, even some that are prescribed to help relax the body. And also, most people are aware not to use stimulants, such as caffeine, close to bedtime. Anything that creates physical or mental tension can interfere with sleep and cause insomnia. Therefore, it is important to learn good sleep hygiene habits and how to truly relax the body and the brain. One of the top reasons for insomnia, or waking in the middle of the night, is worry. There can be several ways this can occur. Some people tend to worry all the time, which increases overall tension and prevents being able to relax and fall asleep easily. Also, if you do fall asleep while worrying, your mind is still in an agitated state, and so you are not likely to rest well and more likely to wake up easily in the middle of the night. For people who tend to worry all the time, it is important to find methods to manage worry. Another audio I've created called the Worry Box can help teach you how to put worries away. In addition, for people who worry all the time, it is helpful to focus more on physically relaxing the body. Some people don't worry all the time, but may have the style of avoiding worries by distracting themselves with activity. Frequently, when people are busy all day, they don't have much time to think. However, for some of these people, when they wind down at night and have some quiet time, worry types of thoughts are more likely to appear. This style of avoiding thoughts throughout the day often leads to increased worries at night. If this is your style, you may need to try and address problems during the day rather than avoiding them. Other people engage in a general review of worries when they have quiet time at night. Sometimes they do this because they think it helps them solve problems. It is true that having quiet time to think about problems can lead to solutions. However, this is not helpful at night, especially if you have sleep problems. Thinking about problems tends to be agitating and creates tension, which is not conducive to good sleep. In general, when going to bed, it is important to learn to refocus away from the worries. You can do this by focusing on methods to physically relax the body, such as listening to a relaxation audio, or mindfully focusing on your breathing. You can also refocus away from worries by challenging the thoughts that contribute to the sleep problems. For instance, you can tell yourself, "There's nothing so important that I need to think about it now. If it is important, I can focus on what I will do about it during the day. But right now, there is nothing I can do about it. I can let it go now because there is nothing to do at this moment." Many people who have insomnia worry about not getting a good night's sleep. Frequently, they create a self-fulfilling prophecy of not being able to sleep. They will think, "I'm not going to be able to sleep tonight. I'll just toss and turn all night, and then I will feel horrible tomorrow. I'll just be miserable tomorrow and won't be able to get anything done." This type of thinking creates tension, both mental tension and muscular tension. Such tension is likely to interfere with sleep and certainly will prevent refreshing sleep. If you have this type of thinking, it is important to change it in order to get a better night's rest. You can prevent the self-fulfilling prophecy the more you believe, "It doesn't matter how I feel tomorrow, I will cope with it. I have before and I will again. I can still do things even when I am not at my best. It is not the end of the world if I don't sleep. So instead of worrying about sleep, I will just enjoy some relaxation now. If I sleep, I sleep. If I don't, I don't." Some people have trouble sleeping because they are annoyed that they have to waste time sleeping. Usually these people are demanding perfectionists. Such annoyance makes it more difficult to quiet the mind and relax. If this is the case for you, it may be necessary to create a different attitude about quiet time in general. You may need to tell yourself, "I will be able to accomplish more if I take care of myself. That means I need to relax and give my body the time to recuperate from sleep. Slowing down, doing nothing at times, and relaxing will help me function at my best. Right now, there is nothing that I can accomplish, so I will focus on letting myself enjoy some relaxation. By developing such an attitude and engaging in relaxation methods, you will reduce agitation and have a much more restful sleep. What I have described in this audio is the cognitive and behavioral methods of addressing insomnia. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been found to be the most effective treatment for insomnia, even more so than sleep medications. The problem with medications is that they often lead to an unhealthy sleep cycle due to side effects the next day, whereas cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't have side effects. In summary, the following steps will help you fall asleep faster and get a better night's rest. 1. If you have any of the thinking styles described above, change them by repeating the challenging thoughts frequently. To get the repetition, you can even listen to this audio repeatedly until you create the thinking more automatically. 2. Engage in good sleep hygiene. This can involve a number of things, but primarily do not engage in stimulating behavior at bedtime. This can be reading an exciting book, watching TV, or even eating certain kinds of foods. Also, develop a sleep routine that is effective for you. 3. Use relaxation methods at bedtime that quiet the mind and the body. Try different methods to find what works best for you. Initially, it may take a bit to get your body readjusted and to change some of the thinking. However, as you do so, you will be rewarded with a better quality sleep and less insomnia.